Have you ever felt like you're trying everything to improve your life, yet somehow nothing really changes? You watch productivity videos, read advice, start new habits, write ambitious plans, and for a few days it feels like you're finally moving forward. But then something happens. The routine collapses, motivation fades, and you're back exactly where you started, wondering what you're doing wrong. Most people believe success requires complicated systems, endless discipline, and some secret formula only a few people understand. But what if that belief is the very thing holding people back? This is the story of a poor man who spent years chasing complex strategies to fix his life, until one quiet realization changed everything. Instead of adding more habits, more goals, and more pressure, he did something almost unbelievable. He simplified. What happened next slowly transformed his future in ways he never expected. Not through sudden luck, not through extraordinary talent, but through one simple routine repeated day after day. And the surprising part? It's something anyone can start doing today. So if you've ever felt overwhelmed trying to improve your life, stay with me. Because by the end of this story, you might discover that the path forward isn't about doing more. It's about doing less, but better. Most people begin their journey toward success with energy and determination. They collect advice, watch videos, read books, and write long lists of goals. At first, it feels productive, like they're finally taking control of their future. But slowly, something unexpected begins to happen. Instead of clarity, their lives start filling with too many directions at once. You see, modern life whispers a dangerous idea into people's ears. It says, success must be complicated to be real. That you need dozens of habits, systems, strategies, and secret formulas. So people keep adding more and more to their plates, until one day they realize they're juggling so much, nothing actually moves forward. Imagine someone waking up every morning with 10 different plans, a new business idea today, a new habit tomorrow, another strategy next week. Each one sounds promising at the beginning. Each one feels like it might finally be the thing. But before the roots grow deep, attention jumps somewhere else again, and little by little, progress turns into noise. Not the noise you hear with your ears, the kind that fills the mind. To-do lists become overwhelming. Motivation fades because everything feels urgent and important. Yet strangely, nothing seems to truly change. Many people know this feeling better than they'd like to admit. Working hard, thinking constantly, trying endlessly, but the results always seem just out of reach. They begin to wonder if they're missing some hidden secret, some complicated formula that successful people must know. So they search even harder. More productivity systems, more strategies, more goals stacked on top of old unfinished ones. The weight of improvement itself becomes exhausting. Ironically, the harder they try to master life, the more tangled it becomes. Like pulling knots in a rope that only tighten with every attempt. Their calendars fill up, their minds race faster, and their energy drains. And deep inside, a quiet doubt begins to grow. Maybe success simply isn't meant for them. But what they don't realize, not yet, is that the real problem isn't lack of effort. It isn't intelligence, opportunity, or even discipline. The real problem hides somewhere far simpler than they imagine. And soon, someone will discover that truth the hard way. Somewhere in a small, noisy neighborhood lived a man who desperately wanted more from life. His clothes were worn from long days of work, and his pockets rarely held more than a few coins. Yet inside his chest burned a stubborn belief that life could be different. He wasn't lazy, and he certainly wasn't afraid of effort. If anything, effort was the one thing he knew too well. Every morning began the same way. The sun barely rising, the streets still quiet, and him already awake. He'd sit on the edge of his small bed, staring at the floor for a moment, not because he lacked dreams, but because he had too many, and every one of them seemed to demand something different from him. One week he decided he would transform his life through intense discipline. He woke up earlier, created strict schedules, and tried to control every minute of his day. For a few days it worked beautifully, but soon exhaustion crept in, the routine collapsed, and the plan quietly faded away. Then another idea arrived to replace it. The next month he convinced himself that knowledge was the real key. He bought cheap notebooks and filled them with plans, quotes, and strategies. Business ideas, financial plans, personal development goals. Pages and pages of them. It felt productive, almost exciting. But strangely, the more he wrote, the less his life seemed to change. Friends sometimes saw him and asked what he was working on now. And honestly, the answer changed almost every time. A new project, a new goal, a new routine. Each explanation sounded promising when he said it out loud. Yet deep inside, he knew something wasn't holding together. His room slowly became a museum of unfinished attempts. Old planners stacked in drawers, half-completed schedules pinned to the wall. Ideas that once felt revolutionary now gathering dust. Proof of effort, but not of progress. Still, he refused to completely give up. Late at night, after long work days, he'd sit quietly with his thoughts, sometimes imagining the life he hoped to build one day. A life with stability, dignity, and maybe even freedom. But the path toward it always looked foggy. What he didn't understand was that his struggle wasn't unusual. In fact, millions of people were walking the same confusing road, trying harder and harder, yet feeling like they were spinning in circles. And soon the weight of those circles would begin pressing heavily on him. Because the real battle was only beginning. At first, the failures didn't seem like a big deal. Everyone struggles in the beginning, right? That's what he told himself each time another plan quietly collapsed. But after months, then years, those small disappointments started piling up, and the weight of them began pressing on his confidence. His days slowly turned into a strange kind of chaos. He was always busy, always thinking, always trying something new. Yet when he looked honestly at his life, almost nothing had changed. The same small room, the same exhausting job, the same financial pressure. Effort was everywhere, but progress was nowhere to be seen. Some nights he'd stare at the ceiling long after midnight, his mind replaying every attempt he had made, the early mornings that didn't last, the plans that once felt brilliant but disappeared weeks later. And a painful question started whispering inside his head. What if I'm the problem? It's a question many people know but rarely admit out loud. The moment when effort begins to feel like proof of failure instead of hope. When every new idea feels exciting for a moment, but deep down, you're already wondering how long it will last. That quiet doubt can drain energy faster than any hard day of work. Soon, even simple decisions became confusing for him. Should he try another routine, start another project, learn another skill, or was he just repeating the same exhausting cycle again? His life began to feel cluttered, not with objects, but with unfinished attempts. Like a desk covered with half-written pages and abandoned tools. Nothing fully built, nothing fully complete, just fragments of effort scattered everywhere. And the more he looked at it, the more overwhelming it felt. But here's the strange part about being stuck. Sometimes the real prison isn't laziness or lack of opportunity. Sometimes it's simply too many directions pulling you apart. Too many voices telling you to do more, try more, become more, until clarity disappears completely. And for him, that confusion was about to reach its breaking point, because one ordinary day, after yet another failed attempt at changing his life, he would come face to face with a realization so simple, it would shake everything he believed about success. One evening, after another long day of work, the man returned home more tired than usual. Not the kind of tired that sleep fixes, the kind that lives in the mind. He dropped his bag beside the door and looked around his small room. The walls still covered with old plans, schedules, and abandoned routines. And for the first time, instead of feeling motivated, he felt strangely quiet. He sat down and slowly pulled out one of his old notebooks. Page after page of goals, strategies, and promises stared back at him. Morning routines, business plans, productivity systems, ideas he once believed would completely change his life. Yet here he was, standing in exactly the same place. Something about that moment felt different. Normally he would blame himself for not trying hard enough, or convince himself that the next idea would finally work. But this time he didn't reach for another solution. Instead, he simply looked at the pattern. Every attempt had something in common. Not lack of effort. He had plenty of that. Not lack of motivation. He had chased improvement for years. The real pattern was something far more subtle. Every plan had been complicated from the beginning. Each routine demanded too many changes at once. Wake earlier, read more, start projects, track habits, plan goals, learn skills. All good things, but stacked together like a tower ready to collapse. No wonder nothing lasted. He had been trying to rebuild his entire life overnight, and suddenly, the truth hit him like cold water. Not dramatic, not loud, just painfully clear. He hadn't been failing because life was too hard. He had been failing because he kept making it harder than it needed to be. For years, he had been chasing complexity instead of consistency. The realization made him lean back in his chair, almost laughing at how simple the insight felt. All this time searching for complicated secrets of success, when maybe the real answer had been hiding somewhere much quieter, somewhere far simpler. But if life didn't need to be complicated, if success didn't require endless systems and strategies, then a new question began forming in his mind, a question that would soon change everything about how he lived. What if the answer wasn't doing more, but doing less? The room was quiet that night, almost unusually still. No music, no phone buzzing, no new ideas rushing through his mind, just the soft sound of the clock ticking on the wall. And for the first time in years, he wasn't trying to invent another complicated plan. He was simply thinking about one simple question. What if I stopped trying to fix everything at once? The thought felt almost rebellious. For so long, he had believed change required dramatic action, big routines, strict schedules, complete life overhauls. But every time he tried that approach, the same thing happened. The system collapsed under its own weight. So instead of adding more rules to his life, he did something unexpected. He took a pen and crossed out most of the plans in his notebook. Pages filled with complicated systems suddenly looked unnecessary. What remained on the page was surprisingly small. Just a few simple actions. Work with focus. Learn something useful every day. Plan tomorrow before going to sleep. And hold himself accountable for repeating these things daily. No massive transformation. No overwhelming list of habits. Just a handful of actions he knew he could actually sustain. Things simple enough that excuses would have nowhere to hide. Things clear enough that progress would become visible. The idea felt strange at first. Part of his mind whispered that it couldn't possibly be enough. After all, everyone online seemed to be doing more, building more, chasing more. Could something so simple really change a life? Or was he just lowering his expectations? But another voice inside him felt calm, almost relieved. For the first time, improvement didn't look exhausting. It looked manageable, like walking a clear path instead of running through a maze. One step repeated every single day. So he closed the notebook and made a quiet promise to himself. Not a dramatic vow filled with emotion, just a simple commitment to start the next morning. And if he kept that promise long enough, he would soon discover a principle that successful people have quietly known for years. Many of the stories you hear here aren't just stories. They reflect the invisible weight you may be carrying every day. If you're tired of holding pain, responsibility, and guilt that were never yours, I created an ebook called The Weight of Stones That Are Not Yours and More Too bonus for you. It's for those who want to let go, set boundaries, and live with more lightness. The link is in the description and in the pinned comment. The next few days passed quietly. No dramatic breakthroughs, no sudden changes in fortune. Just a man waking up each morning and following the few actions he had written down. Work with focus. Learn something useful. Plan tomorrow before sleep. Simple. Almost suspiciously simple. At first it felt like he was missing something. Surely real success required more than this. More strategies. More complicated systems. More secrets. But every time that thought appeared, he remembered the years he had already spent chasing complexity, and how little it had actually changed. One afternoon during his break at work, he sat alone with a small book he had picked up cheaply. Nothing fancy, just worn pages filled with quiet wisdom. Inside, one sentence caught his attention and refused to leave his mind. It said that most successful lives are not built on extraordinary actions. They are built on ordinary actions repeated consistently. He read the sentence again, then again. The idea felt almost too simple to be true. Success not from doing more things, but from doing the right few things longer than others, like a farmer watering the same field every day. Eventually, growth becomes unavoidable. Suddenly, pieces of his past began making sense. All those abandoned routines had one fatal flaw. They demanded intensity instead of consistency. He had tried to sprint his way into a new life, when what he really needed was endurance. Think about it for a moment. A person who reads 10 pages every day will finish dozens of books in a year. Someone who saves a small amount weekly slowly builds real financial stability. A worker who improves one skill daily eventually becomes valuable. None of it dramatic, but all of it powerful. The man leaned back and let the realization sink in. For the first time, success didn't look mysterious. It looked predictable, like a quiet equation where small actions multiplied over time. something anyone could start, even someone with very little. And that discovery changed the way he saw the future, because now he wasn't just hoping things might work. He was beginning to understand why they could work. But understanding a principle is only the beginning. Soon he would need to turn that idea into something real. Once the idea settled into his mind, the man did something different from all his past attempts. He didn't rush to create a complicated life overhaul. No massive productivity system, no endless list of habits. Instead, he sat quietly and asked himself one honest question. What are the few things that would actually move my life forward? The answer wasn't dramatic at all. It didn't require special talent or expensive tools. Just a handful of actions that, if repeated every day, could slowly change his direction. Work with full attention during the hours he was paid. Learn something useful for at least 30 minutes daily. Then he added one more powerful habit. Every night before sleeping, he would take 5 minutes to plan the next day. Nothing complicated, just the 3 most important things to focus on. That way, the morning wouldn't begin with confusion. It would begin with clarity. To keep himself accountable, he created a simple rule. No matter how busy or tired he felt, those actions had to happen. Maybe not perfectly, maybe not with endless motivation, but they had to happen. Think about how practical that system really is. Anyone watching this story could start something similar tomorrow. Choose one skill to improve, give it a small daily time block, and plan tomorrow before your head touches the pillow. What made his routine powerful wasn't complexity, it was consistency. No decision fatigue, no endless planning. The same small set of actions repeated again and again, like laying one brick every day to build a wall, individually small, but unstoppable over time. And strangely enough, that simplicity brought him something he hadn't felt in years: peace. His mind was no longer drowning in 10 different plans. He knew exactly what mattered each day. And that clarity gave his effort real direction. But of course, every meaningful change begins with resistance. Even the simplest routines can feel uncomfortable at first. Doubts start whispering questions in the quiet moments. And very soon, he would have to face the first real test of his new path. Because the early days of discipline are never as easy as they look. The first morning of his new routine arrived quietly. No dramatic music, no sudden burst of motivation. Just the same small room, the same alarm clock, the same tired body waking up. For a moment, he lay there staring at the ceiling, part of him already wondering if this simple plan would last. Old habits don't disappear politely. They whisper little suggestions the moment you try something new. Skip today. Start tomorrow. Maybe this plan is too basic to really work. And those thoughts can feel surprisingly convincing. Still, he got up, not because he felt inspired, but because he had promised himself something different this time. No chasing motivation, no waiting for the perfect mood, just showing up for the small actions he had chosen. The first few days felt awkward, like wearing shoes that hadn't been broken in yet. Working with full focus required discipline he hadn't practiced before. Studying every day felt slow compared to the excitement of new ideas, and planning tomorrow each night forced him to face his responsibilities honestly. Sometimes he caught himself thinking, this can't possibly be enough. After all, the internet was full of people doing 10 times more. Building businesses, mastering skills, chasing huge goals. His routine felt almost ordinary, but that was the point he was slowly beginning to understand. Extraordinary results often grow from very ordinary actions. The key difference is that most people abandon those actions too soon. Consistency is quiet, almost boring, yet it carries a power that excitement alone never can. So each day he repeated the routine. Work with focus, learn something useful, plan tomorrow before sleep. Nothing fancy, nothing dramatic. And while it didn't feel like his life was changing yet, something subtle was beginning to shift. His days were becoming more organized, his mind slightly clearer, and soon, those small shifts would start producing something he hadn't seen in a long time. Weeks began to pass, and something subtle started changing in his life, not in a dramatic, movie-like way, but in quiet, almost invisible ways. The routine that once felt awkward slowly became familiar, like a path in the grass that grows clearer each time someone walks it. And for the first time in years, his days started feeling predictable. Each morning he knew exactly what needed to be done. No long debates with himself. No jumping between 10 different plans. Just focused work, steady learning, and a simple plan for tomorrow. The chaos that once filled his mind slowly began to fade. At work, people started noticing small differences. He finished tasks faster, made fewer mistakes, asked better questions when learning something new. Nothing extraordinary, but enough to stand out. That's the strange thing about consistent effort. At first, nobody sees it, not even the person doing it. Progress feels painfully slow in the beginning, like pushing a heavy wheel that barely moves. But once it starts rolling, momentum begins to build. He noticed it in his evenings. Instead of feeling mentally exhausted and confused, he felt a quiet sense of completion. Even if the day wasn't perfect, he knew he had followed the routine, and that alone gave him confidence. Here's a practical lesson hidden in moments like this. When your life feels chaotic, the solution is rarely more goals. It's structure. Even something as simple as planning 3 priorities for tomorrow can transform how your day unfolds. Slowly, his focus sharpened. His energy stopped scattering across endless ideas. Instead, it flowed into the same few actions every day. Like sunlight through a magnifying glass, concentrated effort started creating real heat. But the most interesting part hadn't happened yet, because consistent routines eventually produce something inevitable: results. And very soon, the man would experience the first clear sign that his simple system was actually changing his future. At first, the change was so small it almost went unnoticed. Just a normal workday, like dozens of others before it. The same tools, the same tasks, the same familiar environment. But something about the way he moved through the day was different, calmer, more focused, almost deliberate. For weeks, he had been practicing quiet discipline, arriving ready to work instead of mentally scattered, paying attention to details most people ignored, asking questions when he didn't understand something, and slowly building knowledge day by day. Then one afternoon, something unexpected happened. His supervisor stopped beside him while he was working, not with criticism, which had been common in the past, but with curiosity, the kind that appears when someone notices improvement. "You've been doing good work lately," the supervisor said. Simple words, spoken casually, yet they landed in his mind like thunder, because it had been a long time since anyone had said that to him. And this time, he knew it wasn't luck. The conversation lasted only a few minutes, but before walking away, the supervisor mentioned something else. There might soon be an opportunity for someone reliable, a position with slightly better pay and more responsibility. Nothing guaranteed, but his name was now being considered. When the man returned to his tasks, something inside him felt different. Not excitement exactly, something deeper: validation. Proof that the quiet routine he had been following was beginning to show. Proof that consistency had a voice after all. Think about that for a moment. The routine hadn't made him rich overnight. It hadn't magically solved every problem, but it had done something just as powerful. It had created visible progress. And that first small result changed his perspective completely, because now he understood something most people never realize. The biggest breakthroughs rarely arrive suddenly. They grow quietly from hundreds of ordinary days, and his journey was only beginning to reveal its real power. Months passed, and the small routine that once felt fragile slowly became part of who he was. Not something he forced himself to do, but something that shaped his days naturally. Work with focus. Learn something new. Plan tomorrow before sleep. The same simple rhythm repeated again and again, and with every repetition, his life moved a little further forward. The opportunity his supervisor mentioned eventually became real. A modest promotion, nothing glamorous, but it meant better pay, more responsibility, and something even more valuable: trust. For the first time, people began seeing him as someone reliable. With that change came new possibilities. He could save a little money each month instead of living week to week. He continued learning, slowly sharpening his skills, not chasing shortcuts or quick success anymore, just steady improvement one day at a time. And something interesting happened to his confidence. It didn't explode overnight. It grew quietly, like a tree strengthening its roots underground. Each completed day proved something to himself, that he could trust his own discipline. Friends who hadn't seen him for a while started noticing the difference, not just in his work, but in the way he carried himself. He spoke with more clarity, made decisions faster, and no longer seemed lost in endless plans. His life wasn't perfect. No life ever is, but it was stable, directed, and steadily improving. The chaos that once dominated his mind had disappeared, replaced by a simple system he could rely on, a routine strong enough to support real progress. What once felt like an impossible dream slowly became reality, not because of some extraordinary talent, not because of luck or sudden opportunity, but because he had discovered something powerful, the quiet strength hidden inside simple daily discipline. And when people asked him how his life had changed so much, the answer always surprised them. There was no secret formula, no complicated strategy, just a handful of actions repeated long enough to reshape his future. A truth that many people overlook until someone finally points it out. Now step back for a moment and look at the story from a distance. At the beginning, the man believed success required complicated strategies, more habits, more plans, more systems stacked on top of each other. But all that complexity only buried him deeper in confusion, until one simple realization changed the direction of his life. The real turning point wasn't talent or luck, it was clarity. He stopped trying to do everything at once, and instead focused on a few meaningful actions he could repeat every day. That decision alone began rewriting his future. Here's something worth remembering. Life rarely changes because of one massive decision. More often it changes because of hundreds of small ones. The choice to focus, the choice to show up again tomorrow. Anyone watching this story can apply the same principle. You don't need a perfect system to begin. Start with a few simple commitments. Work with full attention during your day. Learn something useful daily, even if it's just 10 minutes. Then add one powerful habit that most people overlook. Before going to sleep tonight, plan the 3 most important things for tomorrow. Write them down clearly. When the morning comes, start with the first one. No overthinking, no endless distractions. The power of simplicity is that it removes excuses. You don't need perfect conditions. You don't need endless motivation. Just repetition. The quiet discipline of showing up again, day after day after day. Over time, those small actions compound like interest. Your skills improve, your confidence grows, opportunities begin appearing where none existed before, and the life that once felt impossible starts becoming visible. But here's the question that truly matters now. If something this simple can transform a man's future, why do so many people continue complicating their own lives? And what might happen if you chose simplicity and discipline starting today?